Come left. Art. Drive. Park. Halt. Right. Big. Post your colors. And salute. I pledge allegiance
to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Order. Bend foot. Left face. Forward arch. F10. Come right. Come left. Come left. Underground. Halt. Underground. Dismiss. You can be seated. Not bad for a bunch of average age of 77 years old. And that's you sitting out here. That's your average age. Right, Rod?
Yes, sir. He's just an average guy.
Yeah, he's just an average guy, but look at him. He's standing tall.
Boots to shine.
Okay, is the collar guard back in? Okay, beautiful. Thank you, Captain Gomes. That was beautiful. And we will be hearing and seeing more from him in just a little bit. Beautiful, beautiful, beautiful. You know, there's a lot of things that can't be done when you have an organization like this. We are now at approximately probably 350 members.
All right.
Is that a great thing? We just keep growing. And the reason we grow, number one, there's a lot of them coming to Florida. It's like, what took you so long to get here? Holy mackerel. But thanks to the state of New York, they have really helped this chapter. So it's a beautiful thing. And Margaritaville over here. American Legion 267, all of a sudden, they're coming out of the wood. I want to join. Do you know that? We got a lot of members coming out of 267. Yeah, I'm a member out of 267. And I love it. That's a great organization over there. And here, let's next. I want to introduce Chris Gates. Where you at? Right back here, the commander of veteran of Foreign Wars, Chapter 3282. He helps also to make this and this room possible for Vietnam veterans, for our meetings and any event that we hold. That gentleman right there is responsible. So please, anytime you see Chris Gates in this post, you see him in it, thank him, because he does a lot for Vietnam veterans, and especially for our chapter. Thank you, Chris Gates. I appreciate that so much. Next up, I have three gentlemen here. The Florida Veterans Hall of Fame. Right here. Here's one of them right here. Please stand up, Jose. Jose. Right back here we have Dr. Frank Farmer, Colonel Frank Farmer. And on the camera over here, on the bass drum, Rod Phillips. These three gentlemen belong to the Society for the Veterans Hall of Fame. And I want to tell you something, they did a lot to get that position. And while they're still on their feet, I want to, this gentleman here, Jose, is the president of the Daytona Beach Veterans Museum and Education Center. Right here. Instrumental in putting that together. If you haven't been there, you gotta go. And especially just to see the new monument. And they got more monuments coming. Next up, Rod Phillips. Raise your hand. Everybody knows Rod. Rod Phillips is the second vice of the Florida State Council, who's representing the Florida State Council today for this ceremony. Rod, thank you very much, and past president of this chapter for 5 years. That gentleman right there was very instrumental.
Thank you.
He handed over to me, you wouldn't believe what a great organization. And we have just worked and worked and worked to even make it, to maintain, to be great. So we owe a lot to Rod Phillips. Anything that you see online as far as newsletters or whatever, it comes right out of his head. I can't believe some of the stuff that he can do. Jim Bowers, please stand. Northern Area Commander of the American Legion, right here for years. And also a member of 267. And a member, and he's one of our members. He is a Vietnam veteran. Thank you, Jim. I appreciate you giving me that phone call. I didn't think I didn't even think I was going to get one from you. Commander, please stand. Korean War Veterans Commander. Right here is a great man right here. This gentleman is 91 years old. Here, come over here. Look at him. Yeah. Joe, you're an inspiration to all of us. And we hope that we get to see you for many, many more years. At least 20.
There you go.
Joe Szynski, everybody. Thank you very much. Thank you. The people, something's going on. Don't know exactly what it is, but even the mayor and some of the people from the city here. Chase Tremont, Mayor Don Burnett, our state senator Tom Wright. They are all in Tallahassee today. I don't know if they're building a campfire or what the hell they're doing. But they all said that they got called, so possibly something's going on great for veterans there, because we need the help. We need all the help we can get. Did I miss anybody? Please, did I miss anybody? I mean, I can recognize the faces, and but they're all good. You know, a lot of you shaved. I can't believe that. Yeah. Here we go. Jerome Turner, superintendent over at our cemetery. Oak Ridge Cemetery, right here. A great friend of ours. A member of this chapter. The cemetery, that's the cemetery we adopted. And we work at and have now for several years. We think it's one of the most beautiful places in the world, don't we, Jerome? Oh, yeah. Harold Holloway, raise your hand again. Everybody knows Harold Holloway. He is a past commander of 84. DAV. I've been a member of the DAV for 40 years. Got my card in my pocket. 1983, I joined the DAV right here. But when I came to Florida, I wanted to be a Vietnam veteran of America. Thanks to Gerald Bozart, and a storm over on the band shell. I'd have never been here if it wasn't for Gerald.
All right.
So you guys would have missed me. But thank you, Gerald. Thank you very much. We've become great friends. And anyone else? Have I got everyone else? I think I did. Anyways, beautiful. Oh, that's right. I forgot my parole officer. Kathy? What's the front of that shirt say? Double D's? No, I've heard she's had people ask her. Proud wife of a Vietnam veteran. Kathy does so much for me and for you guys. She truly believes that she is here on this earth to help Vietnam veterans. The next person who is here who eventually, it took her a while to become a believer in the Vietnam veterans. We have Debbie Kruk, who is the leader, commander, president of the Orman Strong, who attached onto this organization a number of years ago. She's in charge and became the leadership in J.J. Martin Leadership Award every year that takes care of one of our past presidents. J.J. Martin is Mary here today. Did we get Mary to come today? Mary Martin, not Peter Pan, Mary Martin. But Debbie Kruk, you do a lot. You're everywhere. Thank you, Mom. Thank you. Okay, I got about 3 words here I want to say, and then I'm going to turn it over to Rick Brown for the Doc Mole story. So it looks like you're probably going to be eating probably somewhere around the 1:45. But anyways, my message is real easy, real slow. It's not an hour long, so rest assured. First of all, as president of this organization, welcome home.
Welcome home.
Welcome home. This is the 50th year to date, March the 29th, 50 years ago today, that the last American troop departed from Vietnam. Thousands wounded, maimed, lost limbs, thousands. I would say 300,000 of our fine young men and women were wounded in Vietnam and also missing. We still have over 1,500 missing. It took until 2012, naming March the 29th, Vietnam War Veterans Day. Finally, a day set aside so that we could do this, so we could be recognized. But we still are being, as a struggle to be recognized. I had the television on for 3 hours this morning, jumping channel to channel to channel. I never heard one welcome home from anybody. And probably even your most famous Fox News. Never heard a word. They talk about a lot of the craziness that's going on in this world. But no one on those channels had the gall to stand up and welcome you Vietnam veterans home. So I hope sometime today that they wake up and figure out what this day really is. POWMIA. The search for our veterans will continue until the last veteran is accounted for. They will not give up, and especially Vietnam veterans of American nationality. We have teams on the ground today looking for remains of our fallen. Still today, they are there. It is They are in a hurry. That country is developing, and our veterans are getting covered over with blacktops and big buildings and whatever. So it's really essential that we thank VVA nationally for still hanging in there and looking for our veterans. They will never stop looking for our veterans. For the reason POWMIA Day continues to honor Vietnam veterans and all veterans. Cecil Fields is in the process of building a new museum for POWMIA. It will become, it has already been called, the national site for POWMIA. If you have not been up there, I suggest you take a little Sunday ride. Cecil Field is in Jacksonville. Easy to get to, just type in Cecil Field and go up there and see that site of our POWMIA. You gentlemen have earned your place in history. And I'm going to tell you something, as I told you online this morning. You tell your stories. And I want you to tell your stories. I don't want somebody else telling your story. I want you. Never be afraid to tell your story, so that our memories are never forgotten. And it's going to come from you. So please keep telling those stories. Thank you. At this time, it's time to tell the story of Doc Mole. We've waited a long time, haven't we, Rick? Come on up a half an hour. Come on up here. Does everybody know who Rick Brown is? Well, he took on the mission and the detail about Doc Mole. Do you need lights on or anything there? Can you see? Oh, well, you gotta turn around and do that unless you got eyes in the back. Oh. But anyways, will you get that place? Tell them we sold out a long time, 3 weeks. 3 weeks. It's probably his wife, Gigi. We call her Gigi, I think. Anyways, Rick Brown, thank you for doing this. First of all, he's got hours involved in this. A lot of hours, a lot of reading, a lot of books, and a lot of challenges. But anyways, here's the story on Doc Mole. Thank you.
Thank you, Bob. I was beginning to get concerned. You know, he often opens our meetings. When we have our break time, he says, you got 5, expect 3. I was hoping to get at least most of my 15 minutes in. But Bob, thank you for that introduction. I am proud to join this organization. I first started talking to Rod back during the breakout of COVID. And I knew, like many of us, we never heard the words welcome home when we came home. And that story I've heard over and over again in my research of this. And I'm very thankful for the Vietnam Veterans of America for what they do. I find it's more than just a bunch of guys sitting around drinking beer. This is an organization that helps other veterans, and that means a lot to me. First of all, how I got involved in this, I had heard that this young man, Malcolm Jeffrey Mole, was buried here in Daytona for almost 55 years and never had a headstone. And that struck a deep chord in me. And then thanks to the efforts of Harold Holloway, and I began my search there. I literally, when I first heard about it, did not sleep. I stayed up all night trying to find out more about this young man who gave everything for his country. And actually, it wasn't even his country. He was born overseas. I also want to thank Kathy Hayes, who she put out a lot of information on the internet, which made it easy to get some leads and get started. Because as you know, sometimes researching things is not an easy thing to do. But the internet has been helpful in me finding a number of people. I'd like to also acknowledge Dennis Mannion, who I spent hours on the phone talking to. He was there at K Company. He was the last person to speak to Malcolm when he was still alive on that fateful morning, on January 21st, 1968. The siege of Quezon on that hill lasted for the next 77 days. They only lived on the supplies that were dropped in by helicopter because the hill was completely surrounded by the enemy. And then they had to fly the bodies out. They literally had to fly in, pick up and fly out, drop all supplies, because as soon as the helicopter would land, they were targeted by the artilleries and the mortars. So for 77 days, they held out on that, and then finally, the NBA basically gave up. They didn't give up completely, but they gave up their major assault. They were concentrating, and they realized that they weren't going to take those hills. The Marines had them, and they were hanging on to them. So they called in the reserves to come in and help support them in Operation Pegasus. And Bob knows this well. That's when the 1st Cavalry came in, Cavalry to the rescue, and they came in to help back them up, remove the wounded, pick up the base. And sadly, I found out from Dennis, his commander, one of his best friends he became friends with while he was in that firefight, was one of the last people killed. Because as they were loading up their troops, again, the North Vietnamese targeted them. And because the helicopter had landed in the same spot, as soon as Dennis was able to get off, but his commander was in the last helicopter, and the artillery shells landed right on him, making him one of the last casualties of 861. So again, I was inspired by the story. I wanted to know more about the character of Doc Mole. Why did a young man give his life at the age of 20? And hopefully I've answered some of that question today. Thank you very much for coming. Thank you very much.
You impressed me. Dang. Now we know the story of Doc Mole. Got it. You understand now the story? There was some of us there in I-Corps around this when it was happening. Rod Phillips was in the Ashaw Valley. Myself, I was over Camp Evans, Quantree. April the 5th, 1968, I went up Highway 9 in the Quezon with a support group. I am a 2nd generation pig farmer from Ohio. I got that name pig farmer, and a lot of you know what a pig is. That's what I did in Vietnam. This gentleman right back here was in the Tet Offense with the cat. Anyone else here was in this area when all this happened? That was a great story. There is a book that is available. It's called The Siege of Quezon. I highly recommend, if you want a great story, if you want to educate yourself on the Tet Offensive, educate yourself on 1968 in Vietnam. That's probably the best book I read, and I'm going to tell you something, I have a lot of books. I have educated myself on Vietnam because I, with some of the members in there, have a panel, and we go into the high schools and we teach it. Also, while I'm mentioning books, at our next membership meeting, right here, 3rd Thursday of April, our dear friend whom passed away, Ray Bose. Many of you know who Ray Bose is. Ray Bose was a author of Vietnam. wrote many books. He also published, him and his wife Pia, a book the size of a phone book from 1980s. It's so thick and big. They're going to bring those books here so that you can purchase those books. Ray Bowes passed away in November of last year. Pia, who worked with him on this, on all these books and programs, she is going to continue what Ray Bowes started. So I will have those books here at the next chapter meeting,